Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivacharya Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki Jai.
Jai.
Mathura Dham ki Jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Yamuna Mai ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki Jai.
Jai.
Tulasi Devi ki Jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakti ki Jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Hari Hari Bo.
All glory to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Hari Hari Bo.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tere Swami Namaste. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Statani Shri Gaura Karata Shakti Madhveta Iti Namini. Narayana Namaskritya Narom Tevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Vijirayat Natsaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagata Uttamastoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept the humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So this morning, the text is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, and text 17. So as usual, I'd read it 3 times, and the devotees who want to repeat the Sanskrit can do that. Hare Krishna. Tasman Nama Vishnurata Iti Loke Bhavishyati Na Sandeho Mahabhaka Mahabhagavato Mahan Tasman Namna Vishnurata Iti Loke Bhavishyati Na Sandeho Mahabhaga Mahabhagavato Mahan Tasman Namna Vishnurata Iti Loke Bhavishyati Na Sandeho Mahabhaga Mahabhagavato Mahan. Hare Krishna. You will repeat if you want.
Hare Krishna. Tasman namna Vishnurata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhaga mahabhagavato mahan.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Tasman namna Vishnurata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhaga mahabhagavato mahan.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tasman namna Vishnurata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhagavato mahan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tasman namna Vishnurata इति लोके भविष्यति न संदेहो महाभागा महाभागवतो महान् हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tasmana namana Vishnurat iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhaga mahabhagavato mahan.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
तस्मान्नाम्ना विष्णुरात इति लोके भविष्यति न संदेहो महाभाग महाभागवतो महान्
Jai. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll do word for word then. Tasma, therefore, Namna, by the name, Vishnurata, protected by Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Iti, thus, Loke, in all the planets, Bhavishyati, shall become well known. Na, no. Sandeha, doubts. Mahabhaga, most fortunate. Mahabhagavata, the first class devotee of the Lord. Mahan, qualified by all good qualities. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. Om Aginati Mirandasya, Gyana Gyanashalakaya, Chakshu Unmilitam Jena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Vita Padakamalam, Shri Guru Vaisnavam Cha. Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustite Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhibhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivachari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Guratishe Namaha. Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavi Vichavishinavaya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So the English translation of the text again. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. Hare Krishna. So, this is the response given by the sages when Maharaj Pariksit was being inquired about by Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira was being responded to by the sages. And it is said here, this child, meaning Maharaj Pariksit, will be well known in the world as the one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. And we may well know that there's a whole pastime behind this. Swatam invoked the Brahmastra, which is a very, very formidable weapon, and was trying to destroy the seed of the lineage of the Pandavas, the last one. The Pandavas themselves were going to leave. They wanted someone who would also not only be a great devotee of the Lord, but they were in control after the Duryodhana and the brothers were killed. So if they were going to move on, and of course the old age catches up with everybody and they have to move on, then they wanted a very able person and a devotee of the Lord, qualified person, good quality person, to take over the kingdom, rule from Hastinapur. So Maharaj Yudhishthira naturally was concerned about the kind of child that was coming to the world, and the sages were assuring him that not only would the child be well known in the world, but also the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. Right in the womb, he was protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uttara's womb was destroyed, but the child was saved. So there is no doubt this child will become a first-class devotee. We all go through things. Oh my God. Have I done something wrong? I've gone straight into, I don't think I read the purport, did I? Okay, I'll read the purport right now because it's important. Sorry. All right, we go to the purport. The Lord gives protection to all living beings because he is a supreme leader. The Vedic hymns confirm that the Lord is the supreme person among all personalities. The difference between the two living entities is that the one, the personality of Godhead, provides for all other living beings, and only by knowing him can one achieve eternal peace, Nikata Upanishad. Such protection is given by his different potencies to different grades of living beings. But as far as his unalloyed devotees are concerned, he gives protection personally. Therefore, Maharaj Pariksit is protected from the very beginning of his appearance in the womb of his mother. And because he is especially given protection by the Lord, the indication must be concluded that the child would be a first great devotee of the Lord with all good qualities. There are three grades of devotees, namely the Mahabhagavat, Bhajam Adhikari, and the Kanishta Adhikari. Those who go to the temples of the Lord and offer worshipful respect to the deities without sufficient knowledge in theological science, and therefore without any respect for the devotees of the Lord, are called materialistic devotees, or Kanishta Adhikari, the third grade devotees. Secondly, the devotees who have developed a mentality of genuine service to the Lord and who thus make friendships only with similar devotees, show favor to the neophytes, and avoid the atheists are called the second grade devotees. But those who see everything in the Lord or everything of the Lord and also see in everything an eternal relation of the Lord, so that there is nothing within the purview of sight except the Lord, are called Mahabhagavatas, or the first-class devotees of the Lord. Such first-grade devotees of the Lord are perfect in all respects. A devotee who may be in any of these categories is automatically qualified by all good qualities. And thus a Mahabhagavat devotee like Maharaj Pariksit is certainly perfect in all respects. And because Maharaj Pariksit took his birth in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira is addressed herein as a Mahabhaga, or the greatest of the fortunate. The family in which a Mahabhagavata takes his birth is fortunate because due to the birth of a first great devotee, the members of the family, past, present, and future, up to 100 generations, become liberated by the grace of the Lord out of respect for his beloved devotee. Therefore, the highest benefit is done to one's family simply by becoming an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhara Shiva Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I apologize for not reading the purport earlier, but my mind had to kick in and say, "Hey, you got something to do you haven't done yet." Hare Krishna. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. As I was reading this translation, as a parent in the Grihastha ashram, wouldn't we all want to have children who are first-class devotees and qualified with all good qualities? The answer is yes, they are there, but we have to invite them. There is a process called the Garbhadan Samskara. It's a very important process that Grihasthas go through or should go through, and before the seeding process to make the wife pregnant with the child. There are so many souls that are wanting to come to this planet at this time for a couple of reasons. One, the lifetime here is short, 100 years. People don't even get to 100 years these days. Most people don't. Secondly, the way to go back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's abode has been really simplified. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is Yugadam for this Kali Yuga. Therefore, the process compared to the other ages, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, this particular Yuga is one that makes it easier for us to connect and get the same spiritual benefits that those who meditate for 60,000 years, like it is done in Satya Yuga, to go through so much in preparation in deity worship as is done in Dwapara Yuga. And so all of that requires quite a bit of personal effort and a lot of time. But once a person chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the benefits are there. So we are very, very fortunate. And then in this particular yuga also, we had a child like Maharaj Pariksit, who would hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, again to give us even more benefit, more spiritual benefit. So the sages are telling Maharaj Yudhishthira, "Oh, most fortunate one." But we could stop there and say, we also are very fortunate, because to go back to the spiritual world, and particularly as HG Prabhupada is directing us to go back to Krishna's abode, Goloka Vrindavan, by chanting a minimum of 16 rounds and doing service from your heart. Now, some people may struggle to do that, but actually compared to the other kinds of service that one has to render in the other yugas, this is very easy. This is very easy. Now, in this yuga, at this time, Many devotees would have struggled to try to make 64 rounds. Yet the mercy of Guru is there. The Guru is the preeminent Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru, leader and founder of ISKCON, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Through his mercy, now even the process itself has been given literally, in American terms, it's like on sale, right? When you're buying something and you pay full price for it, that's one thing. But if 75% of it is taken off, as 64 rounds has been reduced to 16 minimum, then we are very fortunate. And people will rush normally when it does kind of sale where 3/4 of a price is off. I have to beg forgiveness and request that there's somebody who still has their mic unmuted. If you can all check and mute, or the person who is handling this, mute the mic because there's some sounds underneath. Hare Krishna. Sorry about that. So when 75% of it is taken off, it's a great opportunity to jump to and go where that particular item is being sold and get it for that lower price. So it has been given to us in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other sages have also brought the point out that all we need is greed. We should be anxious to grab hold of the opportunity when it's there. That's why we've given an example. When there's a sale of 3/4 off and it's advertised, people jump at the chance to go get it, whatever it is that they feel is good for them. But the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is good for everybody in the whole universe. It is important from the spiritual world, so we take advantage of it. We should. Sri Prabhupada says, why don't you take advantage? Many of the lectures, he says, why don't you take advantage? Yes, because the opportunity is there now for us to go back to Godhead with not as much effort as it is in the other yugas. So, Maharaj Pariksit will be protected by the Lord. We need protection. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, the Lord gives protection to all living beings because he is their supreme leader. Eko Bahuna Yo Hridati Kaman. The one supreme personality of Godhead supporting every living entity. Not only does he support every living entity, but he's also in the heart of every living entity in his expansion as the Paramatma. So even those of us who disobey the Supreme Personality of Godhead lifetimes back when we were in the spiritual world, now we're in the material world, but the Lord not only sends his pure devotees, like Maharaj Pariksit, all the way down to Srila Prabhupada, down the civic succession, to help us with knowledge and with practice, practical as well as theoretical, to have a good understanding and take to this process so we can go back. The process is very, 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 very purifying. And I'll tell you a story about this. This is a true story. It's also very recent. There was one Prabhu, which now, of course, we can call him Bhakta, he's not initiated yet, who came to Krishna consciousness. He said he had some struggles, with the things that we are not allowed to. We're fortunate not to be allowed to live part of it, and that is one of the 4 regulated principles, particularly no intoxication. He had issues with it. And he was seeking help. He had a girlfriend. His girlfriend could not help him very much. This is a young guy. And so finally, when things became too much to handle, then he entered the the anonymous societies that help in situations like this, people who've had issues with intoxication. So he entered it, and he said he got some help, but there's one thing that they told him in the session, and that is they have to appeal to a higher power. There is a higher power. Have to appeal to a higher power. He didn't know what to do. We heard it, but by the Lord's grace, fast forward to this, he heard in a program, and he named the person, the personality, some guy he has a radio program, and that personality invited someone, a guest, to the program. The guest happens to be a devotee. And so they were asking questions, things about, life generally, and these leading, but you know how devotees are. They will answer a question, but one way or the other, they will bring some wisdom from our books into it. Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. And so indirectly, as this devotee was answering the questions, it was bringing Krishna consciousness into it without mentioning Krishna directly. And this guy had been told he had to appeal to some higher power when he went to his anonymous gathering, meeting. So this is how he put two and two together. And with Krishna's help, he came to Krishna consciousness. Harrisburg. People look online and say, well, is there a temple somewhere? And so as he was searching, fast forward, there's a number of things that happened, he explained. But he wound up in a temple and was very happy, was quite welcomed. And then he stayed for about a month. So he came to the Sunday program, and then, 3-4 times. And then the next thing, we didn't hear from him. We kept sending him text messages. Where are you? Where are you? Everything going on okay? No response to anybody. Then all of a sudden, one afternoon, our phone rings in the house, and he's on the line. He calls the temple president, who happens to be my wife. So then she gives her phone to me, and we start talking. We're very, 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 very happy to hear from him. And he said, I think I've made a lot of mistakes. And because we asked him, we're trying to reach you, what happened? He says, well, it's kind of hard to explain, but we could see from what he was talking about that he got back into his bad habits again. And this time, Krishna helped him from the heart. The Paramatma helped him from the heart that you shouldn't leave these people. You should go back. So he was asking to go back or come back to the temple. We said, absolutely, you can come. So we even had a program. My wife decided it was like a Tuesday. Says, let's just call some guys together, the ones that he was really comfortable with when he came to the temple, and just have this home gathering of the guys that he's comfortable with. And so we presented that to him. He said, oh, sure, I'd like to come. We gave him the address and got other guys. Everybody could come except one guy. And we had 3 more guys, which is good. And then myself, that's 4. And then him, that's 5 of us at my house. And so we sat, he came, he had a lot of questions, the typical questions of people who come first into Krishna consciousness find out about or want to know. And we talked about our own situation, how we came to Krishna consciousness. These things are very interesting. Just let them know that, I was kami too, and I wasn't born in the movement. And these things are what pulled me into Krishna consciousness. We felt more comfortable. We sat down, we had prasadam, and the next day he was on. He was on Zoom. He's been on Zoom. Probably he's on Zoom right now. I won't be surprised, because he says that as he's working, he puts his cell phone next to a forklift that he uses, at work. And then he tries to hear, and he's asking, he says, I want to do everything correctly. Should I do this? Should I do that? So everything he talks about, and he hasn't missed the program yet. He comes on time too. Sunday program, Zoom, very excited. He realizes that this is good for him. Now, what happened after this is only yesterday. This is Monday. So yesterday was the Sunday program. And then he said, my girlfriend wants to come to your program. We were very shocked to hear that. Because he tends to mention his girlfriend's name quite a bit when we were talking. My girlfriend wants to come. And I said, oh, absolutely. He wants to come. She wants to come. She can come, especially we have a program on Friday, Janmashtami. You can come to that one. If you want to, you all can come in the evening. You finished working, and I'm sure she's also finished working. You both can come. And then he said that she wants to come because she has seen a change in me for the positive. That's really impressed her very much. And it is Krishna consciousness, this place that I come to, that made the biggest change. Not even the anonymous place, but the place that I come to now, to you guys. So she wants to see us, and she wants to see what we do. That has changed him so much. So sometimes we bring these things up that we are most fortunate that we're connected with Krishna consciousness. It takes somebody who is struggling and then hears about Krishna and then comes to Krishna and gets very comfortable with devotees to sometimes have us appreciate what we have. Srila Prabhupada has given us a huge gift. Nobody can give any gift bigger than what Srila Prabhupada has given in this whole world. And here, Maharaj Pariksit was the one that we heard Srimad Bhagavatam. Through him, Shukadeva Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are spiritually protected as long as we take to this process and stay with the process seriously. This particular bhakta is all excited. And when it comes to kirtan, it jumps up and down like anything. He's very happy to be connected with Krishna consciousness. So, by knowing Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, one can achieve eternal peace. It is in the Bhagavad Gita, a person that knows that the Lord is in fact the beneficiary of all penances and austerities. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam savaloka maheshwaram sridam savabhutanam. Knows these three. That the Supreme Lord is the beneficiary. We do things to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That he is the head of everything. He's the source of everything, and he's also the head, including the demigods. And he's a well-wishing friend. That person who understands it that way can achieve eternal peace. Shantim. Yatva Shantimam Rishchati. So the protection is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And every time in our lives, we should remember and be thankful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead when the protection comes. And I know it comes in all kinds of ways. Not only are we able to get up the next morning, every morning, one morning after another, without much of any kinds of situations that are very, very critical. Somebody's house is being broken into, but not ours. The protection is there. And when somebody's house is broken into, maybe it's a karmic situation, right? Obviously, we know that. We don't get into karma right now. But the Lord protects his devotees. Once we serve him from our hearts, then his protection is even more obvious. When we're driving, sometimes we don't realize that there's a driver somewhere close to us, another vehicle, that we could make the mistake of causing, some sort of accident. And before that could happen, immediately the message comes, be careful, look here, do this, and we're able to avoid that. Those are all little things, but they're all part of protection that the Lord gives us every single day. Many, many things, even in the house. Sometimes you can put something on the stove and may forget about it. but the whole house doesn't get burned down. That's protection right there, because there is something that Krishna would get ourselves involved in to make sure that things that could potentially be horrible are addressed in time. So that's even on the material level. And on the spiritual level, we are personally cleansed by chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but we do not own the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It is from the spiritual world. The mantra is Krishna himself. Krishna is absolute, so things about him are him. And so when we chant the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we get personally cleansed, and we get an opportunity to head ever closer to the point where we get mercy from the Lord and mercy from Guru, so that we can go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada explains that there are 3 grades of devotees: Mahabhagavat, Madhyamadikari, and Kanishtadikari. And he explains that the Kanishtadikari is the person that goes to the temple of the Lord, they worship, they give respect to their deity. They don't know much beyond that, but that is a good start, because those who go to the temple of the Lord and worship of respect, and at this Kali Yuga, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, doing that, just doing that. How many people in this population of almost 7.5 billion people in this particular planet do that? So even the Kanishta Adhikari has to be respected and encouraged to grow in Krishna consciousness. They are called 3rd grade devotees, but it only means that there's room for improvement. Even the 1st class devotees call themselves ones that, through humility, that there's room for improvement in their lives too. They would say that. The pure devotees of the Lord are very, very much in a state of humility, because of so much that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through their Guru, gives to them. So even the 3rd grade devotees should be respected. The 2nd class devotees, the 2nd grade devotees, Madhyam, they have developed a mentality of genuine service to the Lord. They make friendship with similar devotees at the kind of mentality that they're at. They show favor to the neophytes, and they stay away from the atheists. That is a stage of the person who has been in Krishna consciousness for a number of years. At the very least, they should be at making friendship, because sadhusanga is important, and sadhusanga here is implied because Srila Prabhupada says they avoid the atheists. They're called 2nd grade devotees, Madhyam. It is important to avoid atheists because they pull you away from Krishna consciousness by bringing prajalpa, idle talk, and other types of negative things that don't help us to grow in Krishna consciousness. Then those who see everything in the Lord, everything of the Lord and from the Lord, and everything having an eternal relationship with the Lord, so that everything that they see, they connect it with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are called the 1st class or the 1st grade devotees of the Lord. And the 1st grade devotees of the Lord are perfect in all respects. Maharaj Pariksit was like that. And Maharaj Pariksit was quite strict when he was ruling. The regulated principles, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. In Maharaj Parikshit's time, he was very, very strict with that. He made sure that the inhabitants were in fact abiding by that. And if you broke the rule, he was quite heavy with the chastisement on that. Now we're told if you get initiated, then you vow to do that. But your vows, exactly what it is. When you vow, then it means that you're serious about doing those things. So we should help each other. Sometimes there's a situation where the devotees are trying to obey the regulated principles. They may be able to do all 4 regulated principles. That's good. But then sometimes it's superficial because the sinful desires are still there. And the sinful desires, that means you may not be doing what it is, but then sometimes in the mind is pulling, the mind being a rascal is pulling us, especially when we get into situations where we're a little bit shaken up by some negative material thing that happened and we're feeling a little down. Then there's a suggestion, but these things, the intoxication temporarily, well, I wouldn't say temporarily, just say the intoxication kind of frees you from thinking about those kind of things. So why don't you just consider that as a situation to mitigate the way you're feeling? Temptation. When we're around devotees, we won't do that, because that would be the wrong thing to do, and there will be someone to help to change our minds and bring us to the solutions that are involved in devotional service. Thinking of the Lord and chanting His holy name. The holy name is so potent, it's so powerful, that when we're chanting constantly, we are in fact centered or equipoised in all respects. So, Srila Prabhupada also mentions that a Mahabhagavata that takes its birth is fortunate. That family that comes in is fortunate because generations before and after, up to 100 members of that, they become liberated by the grace of the Lord. Even including those who are not so God conscious, when they're born in that, they get liberated anyway. There's always the chance to grow in the Krishna consciousness, but even if they don't, still they are part of it, and therefore they're part of the family, and therefore there is a chance that when they leave their bodies, that they will go to the Brahmajyoti, which is also spiritual, Brahmajyoti, and then, well, from that point, because it's not the ultimate in terms of having a relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will fall back. But at least they will, in fact, be connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and have a lifetime, one lifetime. That's the worst case scenario. But the Vaikuntha planets are there and Goloka Vrindavan is there. So this is to remind us that we are connected with members of family who have left, grandparents, great-grandparents, and then our own children, and their children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and so on, who, if we take this process seriously enough to get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through Guru, those members can be liberated. Family members. There was one situation, this is another story I'd like to share with you. One situation, the devotee, again, here in this Harrisburg, I'm in the Harrisburg area, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And this devotee's wife, he was initiated, his wife was not at that time. His wife was diagnosed with cancer. That is traumatic to the family and traumatic to the person when such a situation comes up. And many people opt to go for ways in which to control the disease and treat it. So she went through that treatment, and for a while she was all right. But again, her husband was initiated, she wasn't. But she was coming to the temple. very nice personality in terms of, service attitude and so on, but the body was getting weaker. So Guru Maharaj, who was inspiring for Radha Govinda Maharaj, traveled from India and came to Harrisburg to give that one Mataji initiation. He was requested. He flew down for just that one devotee, gave her initiation, and soon after that, her body began to give her more problems due to the disease. But what happened was, and the reason we're talking about this story was, at some point, she began to be a little bit turned off of what was happening, thinking that, but Krishna, I've come to you and I'm trying to serve. I have a 5-year-old daughter. So this is not a good grown person. This is barely 30 years old. 5-year-old daughter and a husband, and we're living well. And now this. And I'm supposed to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, I vow to chant, but I'm just going through so much trouble with my body. And all of this is going on in the house. We didn't know anything about it until a call came in, and that's how I got to know. A call came in from my husband. My husband called me up and told me that his wife had stopped chanting, doesn't want to chant anymore, and he's really, really upset with how much pain that she's going through because of the disease. And I've had other people talk to her, but she doesn't want to listen. And maybe because you're much older and they respect because of your age, maybe you can say something to her. Now, I'm not a counselor, but I was told that, her husband is quite close to me. So I said, all right. So I took the phone and she got on the phone. He called her, she got on the phone. And I asked her what's going on and why the chanting is stopped, from your part. And she said that there are some things that I want that it seems like I'm not going to be able to get because of the disease. So I asked her to explain. She says, I want to be a good mother for my daughter and a good wife for my husband. And these two things, I'm not able to do so well because my body is so tired and I don't know what to do. And so I said, so you want to help your husband as a good wife, and you want to help your 5-year-old daughter as a good mother. Now, I repeated to her because behind this repeating, I was, the repetition, I was just sincerely and urgently praying to my Guru Maharaj for answers because I'm not a counselor. And I'm being put in a situation, I have to say something. What am I going to say to a person who is in that situation and getting ready to possibly leave the body soon? But in the intense prayer, a couple of suggestions came up. I said, okay, so you want to be a good wife to your husband, a good mother to your child. Well, yes, I can understand that, but from a material point, with this physical body, you may not be able to do much. He said, yes, that's why I'm so upset about it. But I said, spiritually, be able to do quite a bit, though. He said, how? I said, if you take this process seriously, we're all going to leave our bodies at some point. We're all going to. She agreed with that and said, well, if we're devotees, there's a chance we can go back to Godhead. She said, yes. Well, the thing that comes from going back to Godhead, and the reason we're talking about this, is that if your Guru Maharaj gives, pleads for mercy, as long as you do what you're supposed to do on your part, when you go back and you get accepted back to the spiritual world, your family members will also get a chance for liberation, including your husband and your daughter. So you can help them spiritually, which is even a greater gift than the material thing that you want to be, being a good wife to your husband and being a good mother to your daughter. He said, is that right? Yes, it is. You can, in fact, at the very least, 3 families before and 3 families after. It definitely includes them, the ones that you want to satisfy. Then she said, all right. But I also said, look at your situation now. How much pain you're going through. It is not your soul that's going through pain. You know that. It's your physical body that's going through pain. But it is the pain that's giving you such discomfort. So if you had a chance again after this body, after this life, would you think about getting another material body knowing what this material body has done to you? She said, no. All right, I agree with you, I told her. I wouldn't want a body that gives me so much problem, but you can never tell though, because all the bodies, there's disease that comes. So is it good at all to have another material body? She said, no. Okay, well, if you want to avoid a material body, that means you can't come to the material world, because then you'll get a material body. So the only thing that's left to go to without a material body is where? He said the spiritual world. Well, how do you get to the spiritual world then? It is through your Guru Maharaj, what your Guru Maharaj asked you to do. You have to obey the regulated principles and chant. I said, as far as regulated principles, your situation, your physical situation, you can't do anything else anyway. The regulated principles by default, you're just obeying all of them. There's only one thing left, and that is, in order not to get another physical body that will give you pain again, you have to chant. That's the only thing that's left in this vow. I have to chant. So you can save your own self from getting another physical body to give you trouble, and you certainly can spiritually give even a greater gift to your husband and your daughter by taking this process seriously. So we ended the conversation, and about 15 to 20 minutes later, I got another call, again from my husband. He said, I'd like to thank you for, I don't know what you told my wife, but since she hung the phone up, she has grabbed the bead bag and she's not stopped. She's just chanting seriously. I said, thank you, Krishna. I'm not a counselor, but somehow I got used in that way. So we're saying this to bring this point out that we are not alone, that if we take this process seriously, that there are members of our family that are going to be liberated from the material world. And speaking about that, if somebody had a question, I'll just bring this point up. You can see how the children, grandchildren, and so on, and so maybe the parents can be relieved, but great grandparents who have left their bodies already and probably in another body or going to some other planet, someplace else, before you leave your body, and by your own efforts spiritually, you get accepted and allowed to go back to the spiritual world. Well, what about those parents, those family members who took birth well before you? Well, it's explained in Garga Samhita that I read that once the devotee leaves the body and by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, they are accepted back to the spiritual world. Then the agents of the Lord, Vishnu Dutas, they go looking for those family members who died before that particular devotee and actually bring them to the spiritual world also. So this is a very, very serious statement. This is how it's done. It doesn't matter what kind of other bodies that your family members before you that have died are in. Once a devotee gets, in fact, allowed to go back to the spiritual world, then it is on the Lord's agents to go looking for all of those members of families connected with them before and have left your bodies and get them also going to leaving the material world. So as we chant, we have to be very careful in all of the things that we do with good qualities. Prabhupada says everything we should do, we do it in devotion service, we should do it in the first class way. Put our best foot forward in everything that we do. so that the Lord will be happy with us, Guru will be pleased with us. We get a chance to go back to Godhead, and the family members will also get a chance to be liberated from the material world. So we are protected, just like Krishna is saying here. The sages, through Krishna, is saying that Maharaj Pariksit is going to be protected so nicely. He will be very well known, and as we know, he is through the not just ruling the kingdom in such perfect way, but also his connection, his association with Shukadeva Goswami, and how much that we benefited from it. Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are fortunate. We should remember we are fortunate. So we take this process so seriously. And we also remember that not only does the Lord give protection, but there's also a chance for our family members before us and after us to also leave the material world. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, is there any kind of questions? Maybe
Anybody
now.
has questions, you can just unmute yourself and go ahead. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a nice class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
About Pariksit Maharaj, and then you're saying that if we chant, that generation before and after also they will be relieved. That was really very good point you said.
It's
See,
a good
not
reminder.
only for ourselves,
It's a reminder.
a reminder, yes. Not only for ourselves, but it will be benefited for them also.
Yeah.
It's very, very nice thing you said, Prabhu.
Krishna's mercy.
Yeah, about Pariksit Maharaj, those priests, they all said, no, that horoscope and everything they read. But they couldn't say that how he is going to leave his body, what happens to him. So, means that horoscope people, I heard that, they will say past everything, but not future, they won't say anything. Is that right?
They see, those who can see, they see past, present, and future. It's been explained to me that it's all like one picture. Do they see the whole thing? Past, present. But remember, they have the choice of, even though they see what they actually say and what they don't say. I have personal experience of it. So sometimes they may say some things and other things too. If it's too serious, they may opt not to talk about that. That doesn't mean they don't see it though. They may opt not to talk about that.
That's what I heard too. Yeah, because these horoscope people, they all came, and Yudhishthira Maharaj, he gave gold and horses and everything, charity. So at that point, if they say anything like that, they may not be in. It may not be a good situation or something like that.
Yeah, they do see what happens in the future though, but the point they made was really the most important point that Maharaj Yudhishthira wanted to hear, that this grandson was going to be a first-class devotee.
Yeah.
He was protected by the Lord in a first class. So the spiritual part of things that the sages did in fact describe quite accurately to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira, being the caliber that he himself was, wouldn't have been so concerned about material things though. As we are. Now I have my own story. A couple of times I've been, and literally 2 times, I've been in situations where I was with somebody who could see the future, and he talked about, at that time, the first one was not a devotee. The second person who did read about my future was a devotee. And this first person, very staunch Christian, told me all kinds of things that would happen in the future that were nice and positive. And then he says there weren't too many challenges that would come in your life. But then he gave me some prayers from the Psalms. And these are Christians from Psalms in the Bible. He gave me 3 Psalms. Psalms 7, Psalm 70, Psalm number 7, Psalm number 70, and Psalm number 71. When I read all 3, all the 3 prayers in there were for protection from all kinds of trouble that could happen in the future. But she never told me anything about trouble in the future, though. He asked me to pray. And all those prayers in there were literally asking for protection up to old age. So I started thinking, well, all of these positive things you said about me, and now my prayers, I mean, trouble? And trying to get away from it. So that goes to show you they don't always talk about everything that's happened, especially when it's material and when it's negative, they usually don't talk about it. But it doesn't mean they don't see it, though. They do. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for all that.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. When you become the body, it doesn't matter anyway. That then everything you go through is arranged by the Lord for purification anyway. So at that point, yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments or questions?
Go ahead, Kalpesh Prabhu.
Oh, Kapesh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your. Yeah.
Oh, you came up to me. Okay, yeah.
I came out to you.
Yes. Yeah.
It was very.
I know who you are.
It was very very hard, pleasing to meet you at that time. So thank you for.
It was nice meeting you too. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to share something today.
Sure.
Today, because in the social media and all the places, today known to be 15th of August, and India, like where the Krishna. So there is like a 75th Amrit Mahotsav. Basically, it's an Independence Day. So people are glorifying right now the country for the 75th Independence Day from the British. But really, the essence of this is being missed out. So I wanted to just bring up. So all the groups here who are listening to this and knowing that if they came across any social media thing like, okay, they are glorifying the country, the land, but the essence is the independence we got today, it's not due to a person, it is due to Krishna. Because eventually the Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi, we call it Mahatma Gandhi, and basically he's a very leader known worldwide, okay, and he's known for non-violence. But whenever he thought about anything, like he had a problems in the life, how he wants to tackle, he approached Bhagavad Gita for that, and nobody is talking about it and nobody's saying about it. So it becomes like our individual responsibility if we want to glorify Krishna everywhere, because it's not about the land, it's not about the geography, it's not about the country, it's not about the race, it is not about the religion, it's all about this Sanatan Dharma. It's about the independence, but it is due to only due to Krishna's wisdom, and that is coming from Bhagavad Gita. So I wanted to just glorify too, since I got the opportunity, I don't want to miss that platform. And hopefully if anybody comes in a contact of such things, I think so we have to bring that to the source and identify who is actually the point of contact, who is the source of all. So Hare Krishna.
Ultimately, Hare Krishna. Good time to bring this up for a reminder to those who are, from India, Independence Day, and ultimately, just like the devotee you are, you've connected it to Bhagavad Gita in the end, which is wonderful, so people would know that Mahatma Gandhi himself was relying on Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments?
I thought the point that you made about, if we are a good devotee, we can help our family members be delivered. Sometimes we are so focused on converting them, bringing them into, this line of thinking. And some of them are very resistant. And we get a little frustrated. But today it was reassuring to know, with this reminder, that we need to continue praying, and we need, and our mood will help them.
Yes, it's very, very, very important to remember that. And not only to remember that, but if you can, see, those who are resistant, there's a couple of things. Yeah, that reminder is there that we ourselves are good devotees, take the process very seriously, and the mercy of Guru and go back to the spiritual world, they also get taken out of the material world. Now, we also can give them prasadam. See, that they can always eat when you have prasadam, but the prasadam is also Krishna's mercy. And so at some point, in their lives, they have opportunity to turn to Krishna because of the prasadam. And that's also something we can do. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Any other comments? Okay, if there's none, then thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Really, it was really very, very nice class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
Like how you help that person to think about Krishna in her like difficult time. So really touching story, and Krishna really helped you, gave them a good answer. I think when you pray to Krishna, and he helped you. So this was and you said that as Subha Radhe Mataji said that it helps our generation. Sometimes we forget about that.
Yes.
So it's a good reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, this Srila Prabhupada has helped us by saying the Mahabhagavad, 100 generations before, 100 generations after, all the way up to Kanishta, there are generations that are delivered when we take the process seriously enough to earn the mercy of Guru and Krishna. That will, in fact, be the case for our family members, some of whom we don't even know, especially some of whom would leave their bodies before their great-grandchildren get born. We leave our bodies, but then they're qualified to get out of the material world. Such mercy is there for us just turning to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai. All right then. Vanchakalpatarubhischa kripa sindhve evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Kripa Pariksit ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai Gaur Shri Prabhu.